Harris and Biden are reuniting on the campaign trail. They shouldn't, in my opinion, but whatever, you know.
Now to the race for the White House. Vice President Harris is set to lay out her economic plan today after making her first appearance with President Biden since he dropped out of the race. Former President Trump held another press conference, and Rachel Scott is here with more. Good morning, Rachel.
Hey, Rebecca, good morning to you. Well, Vice President Kamala Harris has only been in the race now for a few weeks. She has not outlined any policy plans yet, but all of that will change today. She is set to unveil her economic agenda as she really tries to thread this needle between touting the Biden-Harris record and laying out her own vision for the country. This morning, Vice President Kamala Harris set to unveil her economic agenda in North Carolina today after appearing with President Biden for the first time since he dropped out of the race.
Few leaders in our
The craziest part of the economic agenda so far is that, like, it's obviously populist. It's obviously good. I'm actually shocked that they're defending it. And I think that the media might actually start swiping at them. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the fact that Kamala Harris unveiled the agenda. One of the most pressing issues that I think is a top of mind, right, for a lot of Americans, young, old, everyone. It is the affordability crisis that everyone is experiencing, both in housing and in just all consumer goods across the board. I mean, I don't find it odd that the media immediately started launching attacks because that's what they do. They're in the pocket of big corporations at the end of the day. They're in a bind because they hate Donald Trump for volatility. And also Donald Trump has a lot of economic policy points that will harm big corporate donors as well, like instituting major tariffs and stuff, specifically on Chinese goods. So that's already something that a lot of people are worried about. But on the other hand, I think the Kamala team is also using this advantage to be like, no, this is the real way that we're going to solve the affordability crisis. We're going to go after price gougers. And of course, the media immediately, as soon as they show like a level of sanity in their policy making and their agenda, the media has to be like, whoa, you can't do that. That's communism. But yeah, let's see.
Our nation have done more.
What's the reason she can't do things with Biden right now? Great question. There are certain things that she could do. I think foreign policy wise, there's definitely certain aspects of her agenda that she could communicate across the Biden's team and Biden's camp on foreign policy. But as far as like instituting more power to the FTC under the Biden regime is probably going to be too difficult to pull off while also simultaneously running for president. Now, before people say, oh, she doesn't have Congress, a lot of the stuff that they're talking about is not actually, is not limited by congressional approval. So just so you understand, so she could technically do it if Biden wanted to do it. But I don't think that there is like enough momentum at this moment. Didn't the court say they won't let that stuff happen? Yeah, okay. Well, you know, I have an answer for that. It's called who gives a fuck, okay? Let's continue.
On so many issues, including to expand access to affordable health care like than Joe Biden.
The president touting the first ever negotiations with pharmaceutical companies to lower the cost of 10 drugs.
Kamala and all of us in this room are going to keep standing up for Big Pharma. I fought too damn hard to yield now.
The VP does not have unilateral decision-making power. They have influencing power. Exactly. 100%. She is already currently with this agenda, with this economic agenda. She's already personally saying that they're going to continue what they've done so far in the Brandon regime with respect to the FTC, with respect to Lena Khan. That's actually a really solid thing. For the record, I do think this is good. I will always be honest with you. When I see the Democrats doing something good, I will tell you, okay? I think that personally running alongside Brandon like this, not the greatest thing, okay? But that's fine. It's okay. Biden has also made bold proclamations, even when he was running as well. He's made bold proclamations about what he wants to do with the economy. So I think the Kamala campaign is basically continuing that agenda. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a very good thing, okay?
We're not backing down.
But with polls showing most Americans are still dissatisfied with the economy, the vice president will offer her own proposals later today. Her campaign says Harris will propose up to $25,000 in down payment support for first-time.
Remember this decrepit skeleton that everyone decided is unfit for office? Want to hear from him again? Yeah, I mean, look, they're gonna give him his flowers. I think that personally, they're giving him his flowers because like that's the only way you can get motion with him. That's it. There's like, I can't see any other genuine reason as to why you would just like plaster Biden anywhere else. Like they're literally being like, hey, you're the GOAT. Thank you for dropping out and doing the right thing and not being an old curmudgeon that refused to like listen the fucking reason. I think that's basically what this is. It might be so that they can maybe get Biden to be more reasonable about some of the things that have to change right now when he is the president, when he has the power to set the stage. In some ways, it feels like maybe they're doing the bear hug strategy. It also hurts the coup narrative. Exactly. When Biden comes out in campaigns, that completely deflates the idea that Republicans have tried to present, which is like the Democrats did a coup. Democrats did a coup. Like it just destroys that narrative. You know what I mean? So that's probably another reason why they're doing that as well.
Who have paid their rent on time for 2 years, expand the child tax credit, providing up to $6,000 per child, and implement a first ever federal ban on price gouging on food and
I can only
groceries.
get so hard. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is great stuff, Chad. I'm not joking when I say this. Like, I was actually shocked when Biden was talking about a federal cap, like federal rent control. That's an insane policy. Like, that's not something that you hear from the Democrats a lot. Biden originally instituted some kind of rent control that was like super, super limited. Okay. Then he turned around and said, we're going to try to push for a federal rent control across the board and we're going to limit it at 5%. That was also pretty fire. Every time they were like, bro, you're old, he would just come out and be like, I'm going to do another fucking progressive populist policy. Every time they'd be like, you're old, please leave. He'd be like, I'm doing socialism, Jack. Phenomenal message, worst messenger. I kept saying that back then, and I will repeat that now. Not the worst messenger, and the message is fucking great. These are things that are genuinely good. It's one of the first times where I've ever seen the Democratic Party actually fight.
An idea already drawing criticism from Donald Trump.
She wants price controls, and if they worked, I'd go along with it too, but they don't work.
The former president speaking at his golf club in New Jersey, surrounded by groceries, for a press conference his advisors said would focus on the economy.
We're going to have a crash like a 1929 crash if she gets in.
Harris's running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, accusing Trump of rooting for economic catastrophe.
There is nothing funnier. Democrats literally lie every 4 years about what they will say will happen. What makes you think she isn't lying about literally everything she's saying? You're not wrong about this. Democrats have consistently lied about what they're going to end up doing. The difference in this circumstance, you have to pay attention to what they're lying about and what they've done so far. On the issue of the economy, the Biden administration has actually pursued through the federal regulatory bodies a pretty radical agenda. That's not a joke. That's not a lie. That is real. That is something that they did. But more importantly than that, Democrats ultimately never make proclamations of this sort. This is new. They do radical proclamations when it comes to like, oh, we're going to do amnesty, which is weirdly enough an area where they're actually retriangulating to the right. And I don't like that. So in a weird way, it's been a complete swap. On the one hand, they literally are pushing for economic policies that they don't openly fucking state ever. Okay. Things that will immediately be considered like communist, socialist, radical, crazy by the Republicans that they shy away from usually. But on the other hand, they've completely swapped the ticket on stuff like, protections for immigrants, protections for migrants and things of that nature. They've actually shifted on that entirely. You say that this is the first time you remember Dems fighting, right? Well, Kamala is the first admin since 1992 that doesn't have Clinton advisor for economic and foreign policy. She'll turn them down, they asked. This is the shift, in my opinion. Yeah, this is for the Democratic Party. If we are looking at this with respect to like what the Democrats have put forward, usually this is one of the boldest agendas that I've ever seen. And something that's really interesting about the way that they're communicating this agenda is that they're not like, one thing that Kamala Harris said that I found very interesting was, if I win the Senate, we'll do this, right? She didn't just say, oh, we're going to do this when you elect me. She literally has said, once I win the Senate, like once we win Congress and the White House, we will pass this. So that's a really interesting way to message. Number two, a lot of the policies that she's talking about, some of the policies that she's talking about does not require congressional power. Some of the things that she's talking about are directly done through the federal regulatory agencies, which she would have control over. So that is actually really fucking solid. Here's some of the top of the line, things that she unveiled. $6,000 child tax credit for newborns in the first year, major. Restore Biden's child tax credit, up to $3,600 monthly checks, incredible stuff. Up to $25K in government assistance for first-time buyers with, I think, like perfect renters credit. That's also pretty solid. Universal $35 insulin cap, which was already like a continuation of the former. Like a lot of this stuff is a continuation of Biden's policies, right? Universal $35 cap is an extension. $2,000 out-of-pocket cap for pharmaceutical drugs. Incredible work. Other provisions include federal ban on price gouging. This is the one I like a lot, okay? For food and groceries, providing FTC new power to penalize companies. That's major. If Biden has so many good policies, why didn't he use them as talking points during his campaign? Great question. I think the answer is he was so fucking old and so decrepit. Like that's literally it. I would cringe sometimes when he would say the good policies because I was like, fuck, he's the worst person. He is the worst messenger for even good economic populist policies. He just kept going, NATO. That's what he cared about. That's what he remembered over and over again. Do you think Bernie has had an effect on this administration, on the Biden administration? Absolutely. Absolutely. Working with states to cancel medical debt is a huge one. That's really fucking popular. It's really solid in general. Extending ACA subsidies. That's fine. I think that what they should be doing is also expanding Medicare in general. That was a Bernie policy. It's like literally the most popular out of all the policies that Bernie Sanders actually tested. An 80% approval rating or something. Like putting dental vision care on Medicare is like insanely popular with a constituency that actually reliably votes. We're talking about, you know, obviously 65 and over. These are people people that do vote reliably. These are people that love their health care. They love their health insurance. It's a really solid way to sneak in Medicare expansion in general, lower the fucking age of Medicare to 55 maybe, you know, and slowly but surely you arrive at Medicare for all, who knows. There are also some supply side initiatives for home building. I think expanding on 3 million homes, like opening up the way to allow 3 million additional units to be constructed.